and welcome to my spoiler review of the penultimate episode of Doctor Who Series 11. It Takes You Away. Yes, again, this episode will contain spoilers for the 11th episode. Sorry, I'm so used to the penultimate episode being the 11th episode of the series because it has been up until this point. The 9th episode of the series so far, It Takes You Away. It was available to watch on BBC iPlayer and on whatever streaming service it is available to watch in the US. So yes, spoilers from this point onwards for It Takes You Away. I have to say this is the closest the episode so far, the series has got so far, to being on par with Rosa, which is, for me, the best episode of the series so far. And it was a really pleasant surprise. I mean, it all worked together. It's probably the most well-written episode of the series. And it feels very atmospheric, and particularly in the start and in the woods, that little bit, that was nice. I think this series has been really good at atmosphere and so on. But yeah, so it was a nice, pleasant surprise for the series. I was quite happy with it in the end. There's a couple of things I think brings it down from the heights of Rosa, personally. It's still probably better than most of Capaldi's run and most of Matt Smith's run, I would probably best say. And there were great performances all round. I think Eric and Trina, they weren't as integral to the plot as other characters, but they worked well in this episode. They were still good at choices for actors, and you know, they worked well in the episode. It's fine. I mean, I'm fine with them being slightly brushed over because they weren't as integral to the story as other characters. Honey, glad to see they used a blind actress. They really worked together. Really worked with her character and the story. I'm really glad they used this character because she just does work so well in the story, and with the thing that's going on, the event that's going on in this episode, it really works and works to the advantage of the storytelling of this story. It just adds that extra bit of, you know, I'm trying to find the word. It's just, I want to say tense. It adds to the tension of this episode. It just, because like, can you imagine being in this situation, being locked up in a house, no family, no one to keep you safe, and you're blind. You can't really work yourself. I particularly thought you're in a forest. There's a supposed monster. There isn't actually a monster. It's just a recording on loop. But can you imagine that fear, just being blind and being pretty much helpless? I mean, she can look after herself. I mean, you saw how she treated Ryan, of course, but it would still be quite terrifying to be in that situation. I can totally understand her reaction to the situation she's in. And her character worked really well with Ryan. They had a great relationship. I think those two actors would work really well in, like, you know, like one of those feel-good movies. They have a great time of it if they did something like that. It would really work, and I hope they get to do something and another project again together at some point. The companions feel as evenly spaced out as they have the last few episodes. They all get something to do. I mean, Riaz gets slightly sidelined again, but she's once again the girl who has to ask all the questions, and all the other companions get all the exciting bits about the companion. I mean, asking questions things is a key part of it, but it's one of the things that made Bill quite good in Series 10, but it's all Yaz seems to do, and she gets good at a couple of good one-liners here, but she sort of restricted the same sort of, it's like her character's going through the same sort of thing she did in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, where she's occasionally throwing them up around something to conversation, and what she was doing in the Saranga Conundrum, which is basically all she did for that episode was just ask questions. So it's nice to have a bit of a mix of her character. We don't get as much of her character as I would like. I mean, we don't get as much of the characters that I would like of all of them. That's the disadvantage of having 3 companions. I think if they were to eliminate one of the companions, it would be her, because she is by far the weakest. But I still can't help but think she worked well in the story, and without her it wouldn't have worked as well, I think, because there was something going on with Ryan and there was something going on with Graham, and you needed that breath of fresh air with those conversations with the Doctor and Yaz. But again, that could have just been embodied through Graham. So yeah, is she really needed? I guess we'll have that conversation at the end of the series if she adds something new to the episodes. Yaz, yeah, her relationship with the Doctor, it works well within the context of the story. Now we go on to some serious bits of the story. we obviously learn that there's not actually a monster out in the woods. The interfere is a mirror and the anti-zone, or should we say, the anti-zone. It's just the anti-zone. It's not the Solitract thing. That's the other thing. In here we meet Ribbons, who I think was very good actually. He had some great moments. He felt, I guess there wasn't really much else he could have done with this time. I think this time feels very much like filler in between space thing that could have been shorter. I think where they could have trimmed this off, they could have spent less time. I mean, this works, I guess, but I don't know, if you removed this sequence and just gone straight to the Solitract plane, would there really be much difference to the story? I think that would it really make... I think it would allow more time in the Solitract zone, maybe more time in Norway, but I think it kind of needs to be there, otherwise it would feel a bit too stretched out. It feels... it's a good sequence. I feel like it's an underused sequence because it was quite interesting to see it on the screen, and the flesh moths were also quite interesting. I know my mum hates them, but I think they were an interesting concept. I mean, they're no more scary than exploding bubble wrap or, you know, thinking. It's just the normal thing Doctor Who does, makes you scared of the mundane. I mean, it's no worse than having statues that move, I guess. It's a harmless thing, I guess. I think I was more scared of the rats with 6 legs, but, you know. Ribbons was good as a character. There isn't really much to say about him, he didn't get much to do. But I think it was a nice little bit with him. The way that Chris Chibnall was going on about them before the series started, I thought there would be something really integral. What I have noticed is they probably were doing the filming for this episode around the time they were doing promotional promotions for series 11, so like, cause you can tell because all the costumes and so on are sort of in sync with promotional images on Doctor Who magazine and in various other things as well. I mean, because they all had those costumes and so on. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the promotional photos from that episode as well. I don't know, maybe it's just their go-to costumes, but probably is that. I think this was, but yeah, I guess Ribbons was just one of those things that wasn't really meant to be. It's like Lee Mack when Lee Mack was in Kablam. He was one of those things you just expected to be a bigger part of the episode and just wasn't. I think that's one of the things about the Coming Soon trailer at the end of the Series 11 premiere of The Woman Who Fell to Earth, is it adds all the characters who are mainly just cameo appearances. I mean, Lee Mack was a cameo appearance. But they didn't actually advertise whoever was playing. I guess they didn't put anyone who had special effect via prosthetics. I mean, you're not going to recognise them, but they put a lot of characters in there who are only in it for a minute. I mean, there's Brett Goldstein, he only was in the start. I mean, and there were a lot of characters that were sidelined, like Kira and Charlie, but to be fair, it's probably for the better because I didn't really like them in Kablam, but it just seems odd. I don't know if he was some big comedian or something. I remember a lot of people saying something about that. But yeah, he was good. I liked him. He was a good character. He had some good moments. I like how he tricked the Doctor. It reminded me of something from like something. It reminds me of the kind of villain you'd find in a Disney movie. There's a lot of things about this movie. It feels very much like a Doctor Who does a Disney movie because it feels like a Pinocchio type story. You know, in that sort of sense, you have the sort of mean, greedy villain who you'd expect in a pantomime, and then of course the final scene with a frog of all things, sort of pantomimey, adding on to that sort of pantomimey feel of last week's episode with King James I. I'm not saying I dislike it here. I think it works actually. It feels like the kind of episode Disney would adapt if they were given the chance, which is not necessarily a bad thing because I would kill for Disney to make a Doctor Who movie or television show. I don't know if I'd rather they did. I think I'd rather do a television series than not a television series, a film rather than a television series. But I would like Disney to have something to do with it because I'd like to get some Doctor Who merchandise or some Simpsons or some Foofys or something. You know, I mean, now that it's a woman, I know this sounds really sexist, but now that she's a woman, could the Doctor now be a Disney princess? Then you'd have the weird conversation where people want her to be a Disney prince or something. it would just get annoying in the end. But I don't say annoying. It seems a bit stupid if people go on about it like that. I doubt anyone really does think about the Doctor being a Disney princess at this point, but I mean they were supposed to have a relationship with it in Marco Polo, which was Disney was going to do a movie about that, apparently, I heard about, but that was years ago, but back in 1964. But yeah, I think this episode does feel very much like it feels very cartoonish, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, Doctor hasn't really done that kind of thing before. And it's the episode of the series 11 that's felt the most like Doctor Who. It feels like the kind of story you'd expect with the Doctor and Donna again, like series 4. Reminds me of that kind of story, you know, sort of like Science in the Library with the child and so on. The moments in the Solitary Zone were good. The moments where Graham meets Grace were really good. I really do like Sharon D. Clarke as an actress. It's such a shame the way she's ridiculed at the end of the episode, because she does what she's got. I really do feel for Sharon D. Clarke's character. I wish we had got to see more of her, because Grace was really good in episode 1. I loved her scenes in, albeit brief scenes, in Arachnids in the UK, and she really works here. I think her character really works with Graham. It really brings out the best in the two of them. I would have loved to have seen more of their relationship, because they clearly had a nice one. It was a nice sort of fairy tale dream come true. Although from tragedy blooms joy, and maybe I'm not necessarily on the same page with them in terms of their marital relationship, because of what, you know, me being Christian, believing they shouldn't have a relationship after a divorce or anything. I don't think they should have really had a divorce unless there was a serious problem. It's never really stated if there was a serious problem between, you know, what's her name? Can't remember her name now. Oh, Grace's character and her previous husband, or if Grace's husband just died, I don't know. We don't really know much about Grace's husband, which is kind of mysterious. But yeah, she works really well in this episode. I really do like her performance, as per usual, with Grace. She was great in this episode. Some great moments towards the end. Oh, she was so convincing up until that point where she wouldn't let Graham go to find Ryan. I really wish that she had got to see Ryan again, because Ryan has really grown as a character, I feel, since episode 1. It would have been nice for them to have a sort of reunion, even though it's not really, you know, really her. It would have been nice though. I mean, Ryan's the only one who doesn't get to see his loved one sort of like that. I think, yeah, such a shame, because it would have been nice as well. Director once again shines in this episode. You know, it's very atmospheric. It's particularly in those scenes outside the woods. I'm guessing these are the scenes from where they were filming. There was a lot of photos released of where Doctor Who was filming. I'm guessing they didn't really do much. I guess maybe it's the same forest. I don't know. It probably was the same forest as the Witchfinders, I would presume. I don't think they'd go to a different forest. Since they're only one episode out of each other. Although there was rumours that the Witchfinders was moved from swap with the Demons of the Punjab. But, you know, it's a possibility. I suppose. I mean, one of the things about this series is episodes have felt unconnected. I think one of the things that I've thought about the most, particularly with this episode, I think this episode this series feels like a bunch of fillers. Every episode kind of feels like that odd episode of the series that you don't necessarily like, don't necessarily dislike, you just sort of brush off as it's not really that big a deal of the series. And this episode reminds me of single episodes like Unicorn and the Wasp or Midnight or something like that. Yeah, Midnight in particular, it sort of reminds me of that sort of style of storytelling. But it's a single part story that stands out, whereas the rest of the series has felt like single part episodes that you just sort of fade into the background. And then Saranga Conundrum and the Witchfinders are like In the Forest of the Night or Sleep No More, in my opinion. I mean, if you like the Witchfinders or the Saranga Conundrum, so be it. But yeah, I'm liking this. I like this episode overall. We do have to talk about the ending, though. Of course, it's not ending. I mean, the Doctor is stuck in the Solitract plane. I don't know why this scene happened, because The Doctor didn't really need to stay that much longer. And see, it would have been such a great scene to give that sense of foreboding for the next episode. But it didn't happen. You know, I think this series just hasn't been very good at foreshadowing. I mean, I really feel the loss of a story arc here. And I know we didn't really have a story arc in Classic Who, but in the structural way of storytelling this, in the way Who does storytelling, it would have been to their advantage to have a story arc. But it just didn't happen. I don't know why Chris Chibnall didn't think there should be a story arc. There is rumours. I probably shouldn't say. I'm going to say a bit at the end for my theories about the series finale. So I'm not going to talk about it during the review because, you know, I still have theories that there might be things that have been connected throughout the series. Talking of series finales, there have been sort of two types of episodes this series. There's been the more emotional, generally better quality episodes like Demons of the Punjab, Rosa, this episode, I'm going to say. These are all episodes that feel very emotionally connected. It's kind of like Warmly Fellsworth a bit, but less so, or very much emotionally powered, and usually focus on a historical sequence and always have a sad ending. I think this episode does have a sad ending. It's a sort of bittersweet ending. It sort of reminds me of that. This feels like the finale to that, because you get those scenes with Ryan and Graham Ryan and Graham, yeah. And when Ryan finally calls him Grandad, that scene was heart-wrenching. You really pulled the heartstrings there. A lot of people thought that would be for when Graham left, or Graham dying or something. I think maybe it would have worked better in that context than in here, but it does feel very much like the emotional series finale. Next week feels like the finale to the episode that I haven't liked. I mean, The Ghost Mine isn't that bad. I really need to reevaluate my scores because I rewatched it and it's probably not as good as the one who felt worth realistically, or better. I put it slightly better, but you know, it's quite interesting. I'm going to probably reevaluate every single episode at the end of the series in a big series overview or something. But yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, this feels like a series finale. It feels very emotional series finale. I think this series has been good at writing emotional character stories. I think that's probably how Chris Chibnall's run will probably be at its best, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people are complaining that there have been too many soppy episodes and not enough action, and that this episode once again misses out on the opportunity to display a big, scary, threatening monster. I think that's probably the reason why Doctor Who's ratings are going down. You cannot deny it, as much as you don't want to admit it. The ratings, sure, they're as big as they were back in 2005, but ratings went up, I hate to say it, after that. So, I mean, particularly the rate when they went down, the ratings went down. They didn't go down in the same sort of pattern that Christopher Eccles did. His went down towards the end of the series when it was starting to get hotter and people wanted to go out again. I know that was pretty much the story from the start, but there was also lots of other things going on at the time. I believe lots of big competitions. I think Eurovision, something like that happened. Lots of factors went into that. The way the series 1 finale didn't work out so well. I mean, the episodes have been working fine up until that point. They've been all getting pretty much on par ratings with, you know, series, with pretty on par, really. The same as, it slightly went off. Of course, you're going to get a slight drop in series 1 in your first series. Of course you are. Because and in the same respect here, you get a slight drop off. I think this episode, really, if we really want, I believe the rating for this was 5.07 million viewers, which is the lowest for the series so far, and last week was the lowest for the series so far. It managed to pull in over 7 million in the 7-day figure. I think it's not bad, it's not doing badly, but the ratings are clearly dropping, no matter what people are saying. I think one of the reasons for that is the fact that there isn't big, bombastic villain, and sadly that's not the way I necessarily like Doctor Who. I prefer the more emotional storylines like this one, or Madame de Pompadour's story, The Girl in the Fireplace. I prefer that kind of story to the big bombastic alien invasion thing like Arachnids in the UK, or that wasn't an alien invasion as such, but it was still an invasion, sort of an invasion of space, I guess. But yeah, I think the ending with the frog, I don't think the frog was necessarily the problem, because it made sense in the fact that Grace, is this universe basically Grace or something? I don't know. I guess it made sense. They sort of foreshadow that ending with the necklace scene with the Graham and Grace. Sorry. Yeah, it's quite late at night. Well, it's not that late at night, but it's reasonably. Yeah, the frog thing, it made sense. It was the way Jodie Whittaker acted against it. I think this episode has been one of her weaker episodes in terms of acting. She has some weird points, and she has some really bad dialogue delivery, I'm gonna say. Particularly in the scenes with the frog. She's just like, she looked like she was about to propose to the frog. It was like, you want to do, yeah, you are going to be friends with a frog now. Don't kiss it, you'll become a frog. I don't think that would be amazing for all those wonderful feminists who think the Doctor is now a woman, and that's absolutely everything to do with the world now, and it has to be perfect, and everything to do with the show before must burn eternally because the Doctor's a woman now, and we can't have anything to do with it when the Doctor was a man, because it's just frustrating. I'm sorry. There have been many reactions to this series that I haven't liked. I mean, it's just so annoying. I feel in some ways like I wish they had recurring villains. It just, because Chris Chibnall clearly can't think of any. The fact that the main villain of the story was a frog says a lot. The Pating was not a good villain, sadly. Maybe it would have been alright in like a season opener. It was supposed to be fun in camp, sort of, but it doesn't really work in the middle of a series, but it's supposed to be quite big and bombastic. I think it would have worked better to have a monster in that episode, the Saranga Conundrum. I think I prefer this one without the monster. I know a lot of people didn't. I liked the frog bit at the end. I thought the frog was actually really nicely created. I hope we see Jodie Whittaker doing a nature documentary at some point, because that would be absolutely amazing. So what were my overall thoughts on the penultimate episode? Takes you away. Overall, I did love it. I thought it's one of those episodes that could become a guilty pleasure, like Time in the Rani. I mean, is it Time in the Rani? I think it's Time in the Rani. The first episode with Sylvester McCoy. It's going to become one of those episodes I just love. I can't really say why, but I love it. I love the scene with the frog. It's so nice and cartoonish. It does feel like a Disney movie, and unashamedly so. I like it for that reason. I think it's nice to have that kind of fun episode every once in a while. I mean, a lot of Series 11 has been quite stupid, to put it bluntly, and this feels like fun and entertaining. It's at least entertaining, and there are some great scenes, and it's really tense, some great character moments. There's a lot to love here, even if you don't love the frog bit at the end, which is a bit weird. I will give it that. And the acting in this episode, particularly from Jodie Whittaker, and maybe Yasmin Khan, hasn't been at its greatest, but the rest of the acting is great. I love it. The score is nice as per usual. The VFX, I mean, that frog really did look like a frog. If it wasn't for the movements, if it just stayed ribbit like that on its seat, you know, just sitting or perched up on it like it had been, maybe if it hadn't moved which was just hilarious. I did love that scene though. I will love that scene to my grave because it is hilarious and just so it's just a heartwarming episode. It's a nice, heartwarming, emotional story. I know we've had a lot of that this series, but I feel in many ways this series would have been, I mean, in many ways this series has been kind of tailored for my enjoyment, really, because particularly these episodes, because I don't feel like we don't get enough of them since RTD left. Stephen Moffat focused more on the big bombastic plots, and it looks like next week you're going to get a big bombastic plot, so do not complain. So I'm going to give this episode its score out of 10. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because there are some nitpicky flaws that I don't really like so much. So it does give the series a total 61 out of 90 so far. I will do a revised score in my overview of the series, which will come in about 2 weeks' time because next week is the finale. Yes, the finale. I'm going to think about my thoughts now. So if you do not want to have any potential spoilers, these are my theories for Series 11 finale. These aren't necessarily true. These are my theories and a little bit of what we do know about the series finale as well. So spoilers for the series finale, kind of, because these are my theories. So yes, next week will be the season finale of Doctor Who Series 11, and it will be entitled Ranskoor, The Battle of Ranskoor AV Koloss. It will be the 10th and final episode of the series. It will be written by Chris Chibnall, and it will be going out at 6:25 next Sunday. I feel really excited that we're finally getting to the end of the series. I know it was really bad, but this series has just been so lackluster in points. I mean, this week was a good episode, but it's not really good out of... There are a few good episodes. I mean, I can name all the ones I want on one hand, all the ones I actually liked on one hand. Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, possibly Woman Who Fell to Earth, a bit of a Ghost Monument, and Kablam. Oh wait, no, probably not the Ghost Monument. Probably not the Ghost Monument. Probably Rosa, Woman Who Fell to Earth, Demons of the Punjab, Kablam. Yeah, I'll go with a bit of Ghost Monument. But yeah, that's all on one hand. Only 5 episodes so far. 5 will remain 5 out of 10. Next week, if my theories are correct, if one of my theories are correct, it will almost certainly ruin it for me, because the thing I hate about the Woman Who Fell to Earth is one of my theories. I don't really like, I think really I only like half of the Woman Who Fell to Earth. I only like half of the Ghost Monument, but I included them just so it felt better. I think if I really was to honestly say it, I'd only like 4 episodes of this series. It takes you away Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, and Kablam, really, because they were the best episodes. I mean, Woman Who Fell to Earth and Ghost Monument. I like the Ghost Monument because of how visually aesthetic it looks. It looks brilliant, and it feels tense and like a race. It does feel, you feel that sort of episode. It feels like you're rushing to the finish line. And it does have its flaws, I'll give it that, because it does feel like it's rushing. It does feel like it skips over some plots and key points. It's like a Peter paragraph with no explanation. You got your point. You got your evidence, and then you got your technique, and then you just got your reader response. It's sort of weird. I don't know, reader response. Yeah, I just use Peter paragraphs in terms of context of Doctor Who. The reader response is me, by the way. I'm the reader response. Big fat 30-minute reader response for you. Yeah, you can review if you really want to. See my review for the Ghost Monument is already up, so you can watch the reviews for those episodes. But we're talking about my theories for Ranskoor AV Koloss, the battle of Ranskoor AV Koloss. This looks very weird on paper. I thought maybe it's an anagram, because you can spell the first 3 letters of Rani, and the Doctor notes in the trailer that she knows that voice. There are 2 people I think this could be. There's no way it's going to be Susan, sadly. I'm going to give up on the Susan theory. But the Rani sounds plausible, because there hasn't been a return of the Rani. I mean, Chris Chibnall said, like, oh, we're not going to have any returning characters or story arcs, but you've got to give us something, Chibbers. Come on, give me something. She says she knows that voice, so it kind of hints at something returning. I hope it's the Rani, because I actually like the Rani, and the voice in the trailer does sort of sound like... It reminded me of Kate O'Mara immediately when I heard it. It's like, oh my god, it's that Kate O'Mara. I know Kate O'Mara is dead, but it sort of reminded me of her character. I mean, rest in peace, Kate O'Mara, but it really reminded me in terms of the way she speaks and in that voice. I mean, we've only heard her voice, and there is a female voice. There's in the second trailer. In the first trailer, we hear a voice not unlike that of the Stenza, and there have been theories that the Stenza would be returning. And it does sound like the Stenza, which is really, really going to peeve me off, because I hate the Stenza. They're a massive rip-off of the Daleks and other races like the Cyber. It's like Chris Chibnall trying to remake a classic. It's like he's trying to think, oh, well, I'm a classic Doctor Who writer now. I'm going to create some big thing that's going to be here for ages. I'm sure, I mean... Stephen Moffat kind of did it with the Weeping Angels, but at least he came up with something unique and new. This just feels like it doesn't add anything. It's just a warrior race like a Sontaran or a Dalek. It's something we've seen before. The Weeping Angels was not something we've seen before. So if we do see the Stenza again, I'm probably going to be disappointed. It looks interesting. The whole 9 distress signals, someone pointed out, 9 episodes up until this point. Could the Daleks be returning? Well, you can only get A, L and Ek, and D, A, and L and K from Rand Score. Wait, no, you can spell, because we got the battle of Rand Score AV Kolos. You can spell Dalek. Yeah, sorry, I haven't written the battle of. But yeah, you can spell Dalek because there's the E. There's no D, so there is an E, but there is no D, so you can spell Dalek. Can you spell Stenza? I don't think no, there's no Z. You could have spelled it though if you'd been lucky. No Z, so you can't spell Stenza. But a lot of people think the Stenza were going to return. I always think of stanza when I say Stenza written down on paper. She says she knows that voice Mark Addy's character. If it is the Rani, Mark Addy's character, who's going to be guest starring in next week's episode, he looks like, he reminds me of, I don't know what it is, it's sort of an episode where the Master gets his mind wiped. But yeah, it's Utopia. What if the Rani sort of turned the new incarnation of the Master, maybe he returned, or maybe it's a past incarnation of the Master. There's a lot of incarnations of the Master that we've never actually met on TV. There's the early incarnations, so maybe it's set in the past with the Master. But he's sort of, if the Master's there, maybe we have a nice mark of the Rani situation. I would love to, it's one of those villains that they keep on saying, oh, we haven't had any female villains this entire series. And I think that's one of the things Doctor Who really lacks on female villains. I don't know if it's just because people just don't want female villains, or if they can't, or if there's, particularly given this current situation of Doctor Who, maybe they're too afraid to have a female villain. And really, the climate politically. I know there are some great female villains out there. I just wish there were more. Because I feel like we never get that many female villains, and I really wish we did. Because there's really real opportunity to have female villains. Because Doctor Who can do something with that, because we haven't really had any. They've sort of experimented with Missy. She was a good female villain, and Rani is perhaps one of the most infamous female villains. So yeah, it would be nice to have it. The planet itself sort of reminded me aesthetically of the planet from the Ghost Monument, Desolation. So could they be returned to that planet? Maybe it's one of the 9 distress calls that are coming from Desolation. Although Desolation was rather deserted. Maybe it's set in the past. Maybe we learn more about Desolation's past. I don't know. It would be interesting to learn more about Desolation's past and sort of link it in with that episode. If it is the Stenza and we're learning about the past of the Ghost Monument, could that be sort of revealing how the Stenza invaded this planet? I think that would genuinely be quite interesting. Because it does look like the planet from that episode. You have the same sort of sequences with the ruins and so on. I genuinely thought from the trailer that those sequences, that we saw the destroyed spaceships and so on, and those deserted deserts were from the Ghost Monument. I think so it could be that planet. I think this is actually quite an interesting point now. I've just really come across something that's blown my mind now. So is that planet from the series finale, the planet Desolation in the past? Oh my god. That would actually be so exciting. I would actually forgive them for bringing back the Stenza if we actually found out what happened to Desolation. Because I felt like so many questions haven't been answered, and maybe that's the possible story arc for the series with the Stenza, is that sort of planet Desolation, you know? Sorry, I'm writing down my notes because this is getting weird now. But maybe maybe that's the planet. Oh my god, my mind is blown. But yeah, now I've just excited myself, probably be overexcited now for the Rand Score AV Kolos. But you know, that should be fun. Battle of Rand Score AV Kolos next Sunday on BBC One. Don't forget to tune in for my review next week, probably on the Tuesday, but these reviews are unreliable as you've probably gathered by this point. So yes, Battle of Rand Score AV Kolos, the season finale next week at 6:25 on BBC One. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe down below. And goodbye.